Sometimes you feel like you just want to paste it on your forehead and walk through life with it, but I'd work on family times from about 10 to about 6:30, and then the driver would come and pick me up and take me to Universal, and Back to the Future till about 2:30 in the morning.
A time travel movie about a teenager and a stainless steel car shouldn't have dominated an entire year, but that's exactly what happened. In the summer of 1985, Back to the Future didn't just become a hit, it took over the box office. What makes that even crazier is how close it came to falling apart completely, rejected over 40 times, nearly led by a different actor, and almost released under a title so bad it could have killed it before opening weekend. Now, we're breaking down the details most fans never heard. But before we do, settle this. Was Part 1 actually the best? Or do Part 2 or Part 3 deserve more respect? Drop your pick in the comments. Now join us as we uncover 21 facts about Back to the Future that will completely change how you see it. Number 21. The entire idea came from a yearbook in a basement. The creative spark behind one of the most beloved films in cinema history came from a man going through old boxes at his parents' house. Co-writer Bob Gale was visiting his parents when he found his father's old high school yearbook in the basement. Looking through it, he started genuinely wondering whether he and his father would have been friends if they had been the same age at the same school. He took that simple, human question back to his writing partner Robert Zemeckis, and the two of them turned it into the foundation of the story. A teenager goes back in time, meets his parents as young people, and has to navigate a world where the people who raised him are his own age. If something that personally sparked one of the biggest movies ever made, how many other great ideas are sitting forgotten in someone's basement right now? Number 20. The script was rejected more than 40 times. Even with a genuinely original premise, Back to the Future was turned down more than 40 times. Studios thought it was too wholesome. Disney was offered the project and rejected it for the opposite reason, with executives describing the subplot involving Marty's mother developing romantic feelings for her own son as inappropriate. The film that became the biggest movie of 1985 was simultaneously considered too clean for most studios and too inappropriate for the one studio that might have embraced it. The breakthrough came when Zemeckis directed Romancing the Stone in 1984. Its commercial success finally gave him enough industry credibility to get Universal Pictures to say yes. Over 40 rejections from Hollywood. If Zemeckis had given up after the 30th no, would anyone have ever made this film? Number 19. The film was almost called Spaceman from Pluto. Before Back to the Future existed as a title, the film nearly entered cinemas under a name that would have hurt its commercial performance significantly. A Universal executive named Sid Sheinberg sent Zemeckis and Gale a memo suggesting the film be retitled Spaceman from Pluto, arguing that the original title was too generic. The problem was that Sheinberg was a powerful figure at Universal, and responding to his suggestion carelessly carried real professional risk. Zemeckis and Gale wrote back thanking Sheinberg warmly for his wonderful sense of humor, treating the entire suggestion as if it were a joke rather than a serious proposal. Sheinberg apparently decided to let the matter drop rather than clarify that he had been completely serious. Spaceman from Pluto. Do you think that title would have killed the film before anyone even sat down to watch it? Number 18. Michael J. Fox was the first choice but was unavailable. The producers knew from the very beginning exactly who they wanted to play Marty McFly. Getting him was another matter entirely. Michael J. Fox was Zemeckis' first choice from the moment casting began.
Michael J. Fox ad-libbed that line. He says, "Red, you look great." And he just said it.
The problem was that Fox was the co-lead of Family Ties, one of the most popular sitcoms on American television at the time. And the show's producer, Gary David Goldberg, said Fox was simply not available. With their first choice off the table, Zemeckis ran auditions that included John Cusack, Charlie Sheen, Ralph Macchio, and Johnny Depp, none of whom were ultimately selected. The role eventually went to Eric Stoltz, whose experience on the production became one of the stranger chapters in the history of any major Hollywood film. 4 major names passed over before Stoltz got the role, and even Stoltz did not last. What do you think would have happened if Johnny Depp had been cast as Marty McFly? Number 17. Eric Stoltz filmed for 6 weeks before being let go. Eric Stoltz was a talented and committed actor. The problem was that the film he believed he was making was not the same film Zemeckis was trying to make. Stoltz used a method acting approach and stayed in character as Marty McFly even between takes, refusing to answer to his own name. He brought the emotional seriousness of a dramatic actor to a role that needed someone who could generate real laughs. Leah Thompson recalled a table reading where everyone in the room was laughing continuously. Afterward, Stoltz said it was not a comedy, but a tragedy, and that the story was really very sad. Physical scenes were also a problem. Stoltz put his genuine full strength into confrontation scenes instead of the controlled simulated contact that stunt work requires, which created real friction on set. After 6 weeks of principal photography, Zemeckis went back to the Family Ties producers and asked again for Fox. This time they said yes. Stoltz said the film was a tragedy. 6 weeks of footage later, Zemeckis had to let him go.
Eric is a brilliant actor. I mean, we love him in all things. It's just that I simply miscast him.
Have you ever seen the Stoltz footage that was released on the anniversary Blu-ray? Number 16. Fox slept about 3 hours a night while making the film. Once Fox finally got permission to join the cast, the condition attached to that permission created a schedule that would have broken most people. Fox could participate in Back to the Future only as long as the Family Ties shooting schedule was not disrupted in any way. This meant Fox honored both commitments at once, working the regular Family Ties day schedule and then reporting to the Back to the Future set for night shoots. 3 hours of sleep a night.
Family Ties in the daytime, a driver would come and pick me up around 9 o'clock, and I would work on Back to the Future till about 2:30 in the morning.
While filming one of the most iconic performances in movie history. Knowing that, does his performance hit differently? Number 15. One shot of Eric Stoltz made it into the finished film. When Stoltz was replaced and reshoots began, the production worked hard to ensure no footage of him as Marty McFly remained visible in the final cut. Almost all of that work succeeded. There is reportedly at least one shot in the finished theatrical release that contains Stoltz rather than Fox. It is an extremely brief view of Marty from behind during a specific scene, making it impossible for most viewers to know which actor they are watching. There is a version of Back to the Future almost nobody has seen. After watching the Stoltz footage, do you think there is any world where his version of the film could have worked? Number 14. Christopher Lloyd initially said no to Doc Brown. The role of Doc Emmett Brown is so completely owned by Christopher Lloyd that imagining another actor in the part feels almost impossible. Lloyd himself did not initially think the role was worth taking and turned it down. His decision to reconsider has been attributed to a conversation with his wife, who encouraged him to read the script more carefully. Before Lloyd came back around, the role had been seriously considered for Jeff Goldblum, whose lanky physicality and eccentric energy would have produced a very different kind of Doc Brown altogether. Jeff Goldblum as Doc Brown. Christopher Lloyd almost said no. Which version of that character do you think would have been more interesting? Number 13. The script was hidden from Fox on purpose. Fox had no idea that Back to the Future existed, that he was the first choice for the lead, or that the script had been kept from him deliberately until he was needed. On January 3, 1985, Fox was finally told by Family Ties producer Gary David Goldberg that the Back to the Future script had been withheld from him on purpose, while the production tried to make things work with Stoltz. Fox agreed to join without even reading the script first. When he did read it, he loved it, and had to beg Goldberg to let him do the movie. The first choice for the role spent months not knowing the role existed. Does knowing that change how you see the whole casting story? Number 12. Biff's two best lines were made up on the spot. Thomas F. Wilson plays Biff Tannen with such specific, memorable energy that the character became one of the most recognizable bullies in film history. Two of the lines people quote most often from that performance were never written in the screenplay. The lines make like a tree and "Get out of here" and "Butthead."
Thank you very much. Now why don't you make like a tree and get out of here?
Both delivered with the confident stupidity that defines the character, were improvised by Wilson on set. The production liked both well enough to leave them in. Wilson has spent decades being asked about Biff by fans wherever he goes and manages it by carrying a pre-written card that answers the most common questions. Two of Biff's most quoted lines were never written down. Which improvised moment from any film do you think changed a movie the most? Number 11. The DeLorean was chosen because it looks like a spaceship. The DeLorean DMC-12 became the most famous movie car in history, but the decision to use it had nothing to do with its mechanical qualities. Zemeckis chose the DeLorean specifically for how it looked. The stainless steel body, the gull-wing doors, and the overall futuristic silhouette made it look like something a 1955 resident of Hill Valley would genuinely mistake for a spacecraft from another planet. The production needed a vehicle that would make people of 1955 believe they were seeing something from another world. And the DeLorean delivered that without needing major cosmetic changes. The DeLorean was a commercial flop before this film saved it. What other failed product do you think got its second life from a movie? Number 10. The The original time machine was going to be a refrigerator. In the very first version of the story, the time machine was going to be a refrigerator. The concept was dropped when the writers realized a mobile time machine would allow for far more flexibility and more exciting visual sequences. Zemeckis also had concerns that children might imitate a character hiding in a refrigerator, which pushed the production away from the idea entirely. The refrigerator was later used by a different filmmaker in the fourth Indiana Jones film to considerable audience criticism. Back to the Future may have inadvertently avoided one of the most mocked moments in adventure movie history by abandoning the idea first. Back to the Future could have had the same moment Indiana Jones fans still argue about. Would you have gone to see it? Number 9. Huey Lewis appears in the film to reject Marty's band. When Marty's band auditions at the beginning of the film and is immediately rejected for being too loud, the judge who delivers that rejection is Huey Lewis himself. Lewis contributed 2 of the film's most recognizable songs, The Power of Love and Back in Time, and also wrote the song Marty's band performs during the audition. The cameo means the man responsible for 2 of the film's most iconic musical moments is also the man who appears on screen to tell the character who performs those songs that he is not good enough. It is the most self-aware piece of casting in the entire film, and one of the most enjoyable details for people who notice it. Huey Lewis showed up to reject his own music. Of all the self-aware cameos in film history, does this one take the top spot for you? Number 8. The McFly ending upset Crispin Glover and cost him his career. The ending of Back to the Future shows the McFly family in a suddenly improved financial situation. Crispin Glover, who played George McFly, had serious objections to this. He told Zemeckis that the reward for the family's journey should be love, not money. Zemeckis did not agree. Glover did not return for the sequels. When the production used prosthetics and footage from the first film to simulate his appearance with a different actor playing George, he filed a lawsuit and received a reported settlement of $760,000. Looking back, do you think his objection about the ending had a point? Number 7. The clock read 1:21 a.m. for a very specific reason. When Einstein, Doc Brown's dog, returns from the first successful time travel experiment, the clock in the scene reads exactly 1:21 a.m. The DeLorean requires 1.21 gigawatts of power to achieve time travel, the number Doc Brown screams about with increasing desperation throughout the film. When Einstein returns, the time on the clock matches the exact power requirement for the machine to function. Whether this was a planned detail planted for attentive viewers or emerged naturally from the production's attention to internal consistency is something the filmmakers have acknowledged with a smile rather than a definitive answer. A hidden detail that most people have seen dozens of times and never noticed. How many times did you watch this film before you spotted it? Number 6. The clock tower photo is a tribute to a 1923 silent film. The clock in Doc Brown's famous hanging photograph is a direct reference to real film history. It recreates a scene from the 1923 silent film Safety Last, in which comedian Harold Lloyd hangs from the hands of a giant clock above a city street. The choice was a deliberate tribute to one of the most iconic moments in comedy film history, placing Doc Brown in direct visual conversation with the golden age of silent cinema. The clock tower's chime sound in the 1955 sequences also matches the chime used in the 1960 film adaptation of The Time Machine, adding another quiet layer of homage. 2 hidden film tributes in a single scene. Did you know either of them before, right now? Number 5. Fox once heard. Marty McFly shouted at him in Bhutan. Michael J. Fox has spoken many times about the global reach of Back to the Future, but his most striking story involves a location so remote it seems designed to prove just how far the film traveled. At a 2010 cast reunion, Fox said the most remarkable instance of being recognized was when he was traveling in a remote area of Bhutan, a small country in the eastern Himalayas, in a place so isolated that encountering popular culture seemed genuinely unlikely. A group of Buddhist monks passed him on the path. One of them looked at Fox and said, "Marty McFly." A group of monks in one of the most geographically isolated countries on Earth recognized a face from a 1985 American comedy about time travel. Buddhist monks in the Himalayas knew who Marty McFly was. What is the most unexpected place you have ever seen or heard a reference to Back to the Future? Number 4. The film went from finished to theaters in 9 weeks. The normal gap between a film completing production and reaching cinema screens is several months. Back to the Future did not have a normal gap. After test screenings produced reactions so enthusiastic that the studio knew immediately what they had, The release date was moved forward from August 1985 to July 3, 1985. The film had completed production only 9 weeks before it opened in theaters. 9 weeks from the end of filming to public release is genuinely unusual for a major studio film. The gamble paid off immediately, with Back to the Future becoming the highest-grossing film of the entire year and launching one of the most beloved franchises in Hollywood history. How different do you think the film's reception would have been if they had waited and given it a standard release window? Number 3. Zemeckis and Gale will never allow another sequel or reboot. The demand for a fourth Back to the Future film has been loud for decades. Zemeckis and Gale have been equally loud in explaining why that will never happen. They retain creative control over the franchise and have used it to block any fourth film, reboot, or remake. Zemeckis said at a cast reunion that if he had an idea strong enough to pitch to Gale with a straight face, they would have made it, meaning no such idea has arrived. Their position is not about money. A fourth film would make enormous sums. It is purely creative. They believe the trilogy is complete and that adding to it would damage something genuinely finished, a sequel that will never exist no matter how much money it would make. Do you respect that position, or do you think they should reconsider? Number 2. The Lorraine aging makeup took 3.5 hours every day. The film requires Leah Thompson to play Lorraine McFly at 2 very different ages, as a teenage girl in 1955 and as a middle-aged mother in 1985. The transformation between those 2 versions of the same character required a daily commitment that started before most of the crew arrived on set.
Different ages can get different things, but the overreaching theme as far as
The prosthetic aging makeup for the 1985 version of Lorraine took 3.5 hours to apply every single shooting day. Leah had to be in the makeup chair for hours before her first shot of the day, and then maintain the prosthetics in comfortable condition through the full length of shooting. Does knowing that change how you watch Thompson's performance in the 1985 scenes? Number 1. The DeLorean's first prototype was tested on the exact date of the film's time jump. The date Marty McFly travels back in time, October 26, 1985, was a specific and deliberate choice by the filmmakers, but it carries an additional layer that connects the fictional time machine to the real car it was built from in a way that nobody on the production could have engineered. The very first prototype of the DeLorean DMC-12 was driven for the first time on October 26, 1977. The DeLorean in Back to the Future makes its first-time travel jump exactly 8 years later, on October 26, 1985. If Zemeckis and Gale ever changed their minds and made a fourth film, what time period do you think Marty and Doc should visit? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click the next video showing on your screen. You will enjoy it.